Yeah, yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. The 18th Regular Common Council. I will call the meeting to order. Will the clerk state the quote of the evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Warmest thoughts and best wishes for a wonderful holiday and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Will the clerk call the roll?
Alderperson Ackley.
Here.
Alderperson Decker.
Here.
Alderperson Feldy.
Excused?
Alderperson Flicky-Peneski. Here. Alderperson Heidemann. Here. Alderperson Mitchell. Here. Alderperson Perella. Here. Alderperson Ramey.
Here.
Alderperson Rust.
Present.
Alderperson Salazar.
Here.
There are 9 present.
Thank you. For folks in attendance, can you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Alder Decker, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes from the 17th Regular Council meeting held on December 4th, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, state aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Minutes are approved. Next is resignation. City Attorney?
There is one resignation, Marcus Guevara, from the Meade Public Library Board of Trustees, effective immediately.
Thank you. Alder Decker?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to accept and file.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no cues, all those in favor of accepting the resignation, state aye.
Aye.
Any objection? All right, that's approved. Next is confirmation of mayoral appointments. City Attorney?
The mayor hereby submits the following appointments for your confirmation to be considered for appointment to the Business Improvement District Board of Directors for the 2024-2025 term. Katie Gladusky from the Weil Center, Marlo Testweed from H.C. Dennison, David Gass from Rhodey Dales, David Hondo Hanneman from GM's, Jackie Erdman from Above and Beyond Children's Museum, Andrew Jacobs from EOS, and Ryan Sorensen, Mayor, City of Sheboygan Representative.
Thank you. Alder Decker?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to confirm.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion on the appointments? Seeing no cues, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. More confirmation. City Attorney?
Pursuant to the requirements of Section 7-30 of the Wisconsin statutes, the mayor herewith submits for your approval the list of nominations for election inspectors for all elections in 2024 and 2025. The affirmation section of the law stipulates the manner in which election officials shall be chosen. He tenders these appointments as follows, as attached, to retain as much seniority and experience as is possible while complying with state law.
Thank you, City Attorney. Alder Decker?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to confirm.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
Thank you. That's approved. Another confirmation, item 7, City Attorney.
The mayor hereby submits the following appointment for your confirmation, Jim Hollister, to be considered for appointment to the Meade Public Library Board of Trustees.
Thank you. Alder Decker?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to confirm.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
Thank you. That's approved. City Clerk, anyone for public forum this evening?
There are 2. The first person signed up is Michael Burnett, which I don't see him.
Is he here?
Michael Burnett.
All right. Move on.
Second person is Jim Van Akron.
All right. Mr. Van Akron, please state your name and address, and then you'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Jim Van Akron. I live at 432 Lincoln Avenue in Sheboygan. As I hope you are aware by now, I am the chairperson of the Sustainable Sheboygan Task Force. However, tonight I speak to you as an individual. I'm speaking about sustainability issues, though. I'm speaking to you tonight about items 40 and 41 on your agenda. You may recall that last month, when I made a comment on the budget, I encourage you to address sustainability in your decision-making process. Items 40 and 41 are important decisions which are needs that we now have in the city, but if not done properly, could compromise the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Now, I state it this way because when you created the Sustainability Task Force, you defined sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Item 40 is the pre-development agreement with Cornerstone Pelton Builders LLC, which addresses the planning for Poth and Gartman Farms development. I realize that this is the early stages of development, but my experience is that if you don't address issues in the early stages, it becomes difficult to make changes later. When you review the agreement, it referenced the development of a master plan. This is where we, as a city, can create with the developer a sustainable development. Sustainability could include such things as requiring solar panels for buildings, or at the very least, siting the buildings to allow the installation of effective solar panels in the future. It should include a plan for the children who will live in this area so that they're able to walk and ride their bikes safely to Jackson School. It should include the use of heat pumps to heat and cool the buildings. It should include a provision that all building materials and appliances meet Energy Star standards. It should include the use of passive solar building design. It should include a plan for green space that minimizes turf lawns. These are just a few of the sustainable planning aspects that should be considered. Sustainability should not be something we do on the side. It should be the primary focus of our actions. I encourage you to instruct our city administrators to work with the Sustainability Task Force to help develop a sustainable plan for this property. Moving on to item number 41, the use of ARPA funds. This is a relatively minor point, but I encourage you not to use the funds to develop curling or outdoor ice skating as suggested in the city administrator's memo in item 41. While I support trying to encourage activity in the downtown area, our weather is now too warm to sustain these activities that require consistent below freezing temperatures. In the winter of 2022 through 2023, and when I refer to winter, I refer to December, January, and February, we had only 34 days out of the 90 days where the daytime high temperature remained 32 degrees or below, meaning 56 days were above freezing. As a volunteer cross-country ski trail groomer for the city of Sheboygan for over 10 years, I can attest to the fact that our winters are becoming too warm for these types of winter activities. We have discontinued the use of ski trails in Evergreen Park and the south side of Maywood, in part because our climate is warming and we're not able to sustain these activities. Each of the last 3 decades have been warmer than the previous one. Global warming is here and it is affecting us. This money would be better spent putting solar panels on the new roofs for the library or Uptown Social or both, or as a study on the feasibility of a botanic garden greenhouse in the downtown area, which would attract people as the city administrator hopes or indicated he would like to do in his memo. The reason I said I don't speak for the Sustainable Sheboygan Task Force is the task force was not made aware of these issues or consulted with by the city administration. If sustainability is truly your goal as a council, I encourage you to instruct the city administration to consult with the Sustainability Task Force in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. City Clerk, anyone else?
No one this evening.
All right. Next, we'll jump into item 9, presentation by Bill Baker Tilly for the 2022 audit review. Finance Director, do you want to tee us up for anything?
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you to Michelle for coming today. This is the 2022 audit. As everyone here knows, I'm hoping that we get this earlier in the year moving forward, but with everything going on, it did take a little longer this year. There are presentation handouts if anyone in the crowd is interested in seeing what Michelle will be going through. They're located on the front table, but from that, I will just say thank you to Michelle and give her the floor.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me tonight. My name is Michelle Walter. I am a senior manager at Baker Tilly. I am in charge of running the day-to-day audit with Caitlin and her team, as well as getting the financial statements and everything across the board and finish line. As Caitlin mentions, we're coming to you in December for the 2022 audit, but that's not to say that anything went wrong. It's just a matter of timing of when everything got handled. But what I want to go through is some very high-level results of the audit. I'm not going to dig into some financial statement numbers because we're at the end of 2023. I think that information, there's pages 2 through 4 of the handout that is presented that will have some of that information, but we're going to touch on overall audit. So the objective of the audit is for the auditors to issue an opinion on the financial statements. And in order to do that, we have a couple different documents that you should have received. The first one is the financial statements. And so our opinion is included in this document. And I am happy to say that we were able to issue a clean, unmodified opinion for 2022. That means that it's the highest level of assurance that you can get from your auditor. So your financial statements are free of any material misstatements. They include the required disclosures, and they're consistent with prior years. Now, if you're a person who likes to look year to year and compare, there is something we call emphasis of matter paragraphs, and this just calls your attention to anything different during the year. And so there's 2 items that are in our opinion this year. The first is an implementation of a new accounting standard regarding leases. And the second is related to a restatement of the 2021 financial statements. Now, restatement doesn't mean a bad thing. The restatement that happened this year was kind of identified by the city in conjunction with us being a first-year auditor for the city last year in a while. So we were able to come in with fresh eyes last year and kind of say, what's going on? From that process, we were able to work with the city and determine there needs to be some cleanup in your capital assets. So that's what the finance department took a lot of effort into cleaning up the records, getting detailed records, and then that restatement was adjusting the records to reflect where they should actually be at the end of 2021. So that was called out in that opinion. The second item is the reporting and insights document that goes with the audit. And this is more of a verbiage report as opposed to numbers. And this kind of lays out our audit approach, the objectives of the audit, the responsibilities of the auditor as well as of the city, and any kind of risks that may be in the forefront. This is where we'd also discuss any internal control matters. You may have heard material weaknesses before. So for 2022, there were 5 material weaknesses that were reported, and 4 of them were repeat findings of last year. Some reconciliation items with loans in CDBG as well as, just monthly reconciliations. Because we, your auditors, prepare your financial statements, we also report a material weakness on that front. And that's a byproduct of kind of a cost-benefit analysis. We're not saying that the city could not prepare, because I have full confidence that Caitlin and her team would be able to prepare them, but we do it out of convenience. And the city and the finance department review those financial statement drafts as we prepare them, and we have conversations if things don't look as they see them. The last material weakness is related to that restatement. Accounting standards require us, if there is a restatement, no matter what the reason, that that material weakness has to be presented. Other items within this reporting and insights document are some required communications we have to have as your auditor. So we have to communicate any significant accounting estimates, any changes in accounting policies, which I mentioned there was a new accounting standard regarding leases, any independence issues, which there are none, and if there were any disagreements with management, which there were none as well. It's also a document that has, an audit isn't just one time a year. It's throughout the year. So if anything were to come up from council members or finance or other city employees, we welcome discussion throughout the year of how we can help or bring something to light. The final piece is related to the single audit, and this is a compliance audit of your federal and state awards. So this happens annually as the city has over $750,000 of grant funds expended. So this is a report that also has opinions regarding internal control and compliance, and in both cases, once again, a clean, unmodified opinion was issued. I will note that there are findings in the single audit, which is not unusual. If you have a material weakness, that will equate to a finding in your single audit report. So those 5 items that I mentioned were findings in the single audit report. And new this year were 2 program-specific findings. There were no findings in the prior year, but both of these items related to unusual programs or items that happened during the year. The first one is the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. There is a quarterly report that the city reports out on the total expenditures that have been spent, and there was an error in what was being reported as given to the water utility, when the water utility in essence is part of the city financial statement, so there was a difference in that number. The second finding related to CDBG Section 108 loan guarantee program, and this is an unusual program that the city entered into an agreement this year, and there was some disbursement date requirements that the city was unaware of, and items were paid after September of 2022. Not a major item, but based on the testing that we did, we had to bring that up to the city and the board and the federal agencies, which there should be no follow-up pretty much from that, as that Section 108 is closed out now. So I did mention, things were a little later than anticipated, but there was a lot of moving pieces on the city part. Being the second year back on the city's audit, there's a lot going on, and Caitlin and her team were able to work through new chart of accounts, that restatement of the capital asset numbers, the new accounting standards, and then just some clarification on some past accounting treatments that we made great strides forward this year. And then going into 2023, I think we're set up to do very well, and I know the finance team is staffed more consistently and a little better than it had been, so I look forward to a good 2023 audit. So pages 2 through 5 of that handout are very high-level financial information that I'm not going to go through. The only thing I want to call out is on the 3rd page is the fund balances of all your governmental funds. And the general fund is your main operating fund of the city, and the main number that I want to call to attention is the unassigned fund balance in this fund is $21.8 million. So this is this is about 47% of 2023 budgeted expenditures. So this is a very healthy fund balance position that the city is in, and it gives you that flexibility for if you have one-off purchases or if something comes up that you need to dig into contingencies. So very strong position there. I included my contact information on the final page of this handout, as well as Wendy Unger, who is the partner on the job. If you have any questions throughout the year or after you've digested some information, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'd be happy to try and answer questions that you may have now.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Questions? Alder Flicky-Paneski? Thank you. The unassigned in the fund balance, do we call that other in regular budgets?
Finance Director?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, when we utilize fund balance for one-time purchases, we call it fund equity applied as a revenue source.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, that helps. And then the follow-up is 47%, you said it was healthy, because it
It's
allows
very
us-
healthy, yes.
allows us flexibility.
Yep.
What do you usually and customarily see?
So it's a wide range at each municipality, depending on what their needs are. I mean, typically, if it's around 25%, that's a healthy percentage, so we like to see it around there. So yours is a little higher than that, but that's a good thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Additional questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Number 10, mayor announcements, just a few quick notes before we jump in. I know we have a pretty lengthy council document to work through, so I'm looking forward to our conversations on the items ahead. Just a reminder that obviously as we move into the holiday season, offices throughout the city will be varying in whether they're open or not. Starting this Friday, city offices will be closed, as well as on Christmas on Monday. Please check the respective web pages for more information of times and closure as well. Yesterday in the Sunday edition of the Sheboygan Press, there was a message from the mayor of Esslingen, Matthias Klopfer, who is the mayor of our sister city in Germany. So check out that holiday message to the citizens of Sheboygan as well. Also, regarding our other sister city, Tsubame in Japan, on Friday, we recently received a plethora of New Year greeting cards from students in Tsubame because 2024 is the year of the dragon, and the students at one of the local schools in Tsubame were wishing us well and good spirits as we move forward for the year of the dragon. So that was a fun little holiday gift to receive from our friends in our sister city as well. So again, I know we have a lengthy meeting, so I'll keep my comments short, but to those, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, as well as a Happy New Year. So thank you. All right, we'll dive into our first two hearings. I'll open up hearing number 5/23/24 pursuant to letters served and waived, and the notice published by the city clerk, and the hearing scheduled for this evening for the purpose of vacating and discontinuing the public way of portions of South 19th Street between Union Avenue and Oakland Avenue between South 19th Street and the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way. Is there anyone wishing to be heard on this item tonight? Yep, if you want to come on up here. Then if you can just state your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Ian Utek. I live in the town of Sheboygan, 4024 North 30th Street. I am the general manager of the Northwestern Host Restaurant. Our owner of the property is not in town right now, so I will represent. But in the matter of this, it comes down to in public interest and the interest of the citizens of Sheboygan. And I don't know that this would be a good thing for the public. Union Avenue is a well-traveled road. I don't know if any traffic studies have been done on 19th Street and how that would pertain to overflow onto Sauk Trail or onto Business Drive at the intersection of Union and Business Drive. If you've ever traveled that intersection, there's many different ways to go and lights and everything else there. I think that would increase traffic there and make that even more unsafe area. Currently, there are receiving docks on Union Avenue for HTT that tractor trailers are backing into and blocking the roadway momentarily. You know, it's usually not long, just a few minutes. There are overhead doors on 19th Street where Sadoff Iron generally picks up daily. If that street is closed, will that be picked up on Union Avenue? thus blocking traffic more. I know we use 19th Street as a overflow for our patrons. On Friday and Saturday nights, our busiest nights, Sauk Trail and Union Avenue gets parked on both sides. The intersection of Sauk Trail and Union Avenue is not the widest area. I know we also butt up against the Union Pacific Railway, and there is not much room there for improvement. Because of the grading from the tracks down Union Avenue, I don't feel that that's very safe at times also. Our employees park on 19th Street. That sort of keeps some overflow off of Sauk Trail for patrons, the public. And I know that employees of HTT also park on 19th Street. So I don't know if they have a parking lot that's also full. I don't know if they have plans for that to be expanded or what's going to happen with that. I just don't believe that it's in the public interest of closing that street, considering that there's residential on the north side of it. It gets used by our patrons and many of the other businesses on the Sauk Trail corridor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard on this item?
Good evening. I worked with Scott, and he did have a PowerPoint. I don't know if that's available. I'm Neil Leland. I am the president of HTT, and with me I've got our project manager internally at HTT. I've got our attorneys, I've got our owners, and I also have our construction advisors with us. So if there are questions, we'd be more than happy to try to answer as many as we can. What I thought I would do with this PowerPoint, it gives you a visualization, a little bit about what we're trying to do, and talk a little bit about why it's important, why we do believe it is in the public interest, and talk a little bit about the progress we've made and where we stand today. So in terms of the next slide, we're desiring to put 30,000 square feet directly to the west of our building on a space that currently is occupied by 19th Street. That's going to be basically an opportunity for us to secure our future and continue to be a value-added employer in the Sheboygan County area. We've weighed, can you back up one slide, please? We've weighed our alternatives. This hasn't been done just on the spur of the moment. We've given hard and long thought to what makes the most sense, and that direction is the one that actually makes sense to us. The project is in standstill pending on the outcome of this conversation. So we've kind of put everything a little bit on hold right now, waiting to see whether or not this preferred outcome is the one that is going to fly. Just from an overview map on the next slide, you can see that map right in the middle of that rectangle is our proposed building, and it occupies the roadway of 19th Street and most of the property that's on the western edge right off of Union Avenue on the south side. There's a 25-foot distance between the property that's occupied by the northwestern house and where this building would go. It would include a 20-foot easement to allow for easy access to utilities, and it also would be a 5-foot green space between setback from that property edge of the northwestern house to this building. Union Avenue is on the top of that. Just a few moments ago, we talked about where this would be located and how it affects the adjacent residents. 19th Street, in front of 19th Street, there are no residents across the street to the north. You'd have to go to the north and east in order to hit residents. And the one that's immediately on the northeast corner from this expansion is more of a warehouse-style building and not a house. The flow of traffic that goes down 19th, we talk about safety as one of the concerns. Right now, our employees park in our lot and it is not filled. It is not at capacity. It would take a public street, which I can't control who parks on a public street, and our employees use most of those spots, and we run multiple shifts. So even when it goes into the second shift, which is the late afternoon, hitting the dinner hour, a lot of those parking places on 19th are occupied by our employees, excuse me. So the parking situation, we have our parking lot, it's going to continue to be there. We have enough capacity. When you park on 19th, it narrows that road considerably, and in the wintertime, it isn't necessarily super wide to try to navigate that. So looking at that portion of the property, I don't feel like it's going to affect any of the adjacent properties in terms of the utilities and the delivery safely and effectively of utilities, nor is it going to hamper the emergency service to any of the neighborhood. You can see in the map that Sauk Trail is less than a half block away, so diverting traffic around in that area really does not have a significant impact on traffic flow. If you go to the next map, this is where you can see it a little bit further out. And to the south, where HTT is in the red, you can see that 19th takes a little bit of a turn before it hits Ashland Avenue. That corner where Highway Business 42, Ashland Avenue intersect and where 19th Street drops into Ashland, that's a very tight turning ratio. By closing off 19th, I actually think that's going to improve traffic safety at that corner. Because when it's a busy time of the day with commuters, traffic being high, that is a very difficult corner to navigate. And by pushing the traffic on Sauk Trail and then to Ashland, you would keep that interaction to a minimum. So I feel like from a safety standpoint, whether it's our employees trying to cross 19th Street or traffic trying to navigate the corner of 19th and Ashland, I feel like it's actually improving safety for the traffic in that area. Could you scroll to the next one, please? The benefits. HTT wants to grow in place. We want to remain a vital part of the community in our neighborhood, and it's in our competitive interest to do that, as well as in the interest of the community to have us maintain our employment. So we can grow our employment base if we can secure that western expansion. Additionally, for the city of Sheboygan, besides having more employment in the community, we're actually going to grow the tax base by adding more building and improvement to that property. Sheboygan also gets the opportunity to work with one of our own. Richard Saxty is here tonight. He and his family have been long-term business owners going back multiple generations in the city. So this isn't somebody that you have to convince that Sheboygan is worth investing in. They have invested, and they're eager to continue to invest in Sheboygan County. So it's a very good partnership between the Saxty family and the city of Sheboygan. And you'd be able to hopefully maintain that going forward. Sheboygan would have the opportunity also as a city to look at the roadways and say, if there are two roads that we can take out of the maintenance type of a expenditure, you would gain that advantage as well. When we met with the Planning Commission, Alderman Mitchell had explained that he had done a lot of homework, and this is his home district. So both from residents of businesses and individual people, he said that he felt really good about this project, and he tried hard to look all sides of it and couldn't find a negative in this project. So I think that it's an important endorsement by him, and we appreciated that. Could you scroll to the next slide, please? We've had a really good relationship with progress with the city so far. The mayor and his office and his team have been very helpful for us in trying to talk this through and figure this out. We've worked with the Planning Commission. We've worked with the Public Works Department and the city engineer. They've always been very helpful with us, and we appreciate their interest and their support on this so far. We appreciate your initial approval of the initial resolution on November 6th, and you did so unanimously, so we appreciate that. And the Public Works Department, as we had discussed earlier, they've been very much a value-add partner in identifying what we need to do with the utilities to make sure that we continue to be helpful to the delivery of the utilities to the entire neighborhood. Also, the city's planning commission unanimously approved our plans, so we appreciated them doing that, and they supported vacating the streets in the meeting that happened last week. I guess what's needed to happen now is we're doing the right thing right now in this conversation. We're having a public hearing, and we're weighing carefully the benefits and the impacts. And I brought our advisors here specifically for the purpose of saying, if you guys need to have questions answered, we're here to do that. What we're asking for is you guys to exercise the leadership that you've started on that other slide, and that is really think about what does the most people the most good. The city of Sheboygan is a large community, and we draw employment base from the entire city. So I think when you start thinking about the benefits I outlined earlier, particularly with employment, it's a good thing to think about the number of employees and the number of families we support and would continue to support by growing in place. Consider what really best sets the future. When we talk about what we can do as HTT to continue to grow the employment base, by moving to the west, it allows us to continue the flow of our products through our plant in a motion that's consistent with all of the equipment is set up today. If we have to move in a different direction, that takes those efficiencies and blows them out of the water. So I look at it and say, if you look at it, our future, if we can continue to, in increments as we need to accommodate our growth, move west, it helps with our efficiency and makes us remain competitive in our business. So that's an important thing to do. Finally, the work that needs to be done certainly relates to passing the final resolution order during this meeting. We're asking you to do that. So I appreciate the time that you guys have given me to speak. And like I said, we welcome any questions that you guys might have, and hopefully we've got answers or we can develop them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Yep. If you could just introduce yourself, name and address, please.
Garrett Cortine, I'm the owner of the business kitty corner to them on South 19th, 2208 South 19th, OPI Incorporated. I just think before any decisions should be made on this, we should have a little bit more information. I noticed there was no discussion of the areas south of Oakland and across from 19. I think that we're closing off that Oakland Road too. What are their plans, with that in the future? And then what are the plans in that production area that they're proposing to build? Are we talking about production areas, warehousing? Is it going to be loud? Is it going to be hazardous, potentially dangerous to those of us around? For example, currently their operation is very loud. So when we're trying to take phone calls and so forth during summer, especially when the doors are open, we can hardly hear and people can hardly hear us. So I'd just like to have more information on what's going on in there. And then also, just wonder what's going to happen if if this does go through the area to the end of Oakland, heading east into the closure, and 19th heading north into the closure. Those areas will be surrounding us and won't be any use to anyone, I assume, except us. So I'm wondering if there's any way we could potentially utilize that space in the future and how we get that discussion going. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mike Robinson, a neighbor. I was just addressed it to you. What is that going to be, production or warehouse? I mean, presses in there?
Hey, excuse me, sir. Can I have your address too?
Oh, 1802 Union Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Is that going to be production?
There's going to be a combination of both production and storage.
Okay. What about, like the machines? Are you going to have vibration shoes on them and?
There's going to be, when we look at how we look at noise and vibration, we have the opportunity to use everything that's available to us and isolate both noise and vibration.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that we designed the building yet, so it's very specific.
Neil, if you're going to speak, I'm going to have call you to the mic.
Noise and vibration, that would be controlled once we are able to design the building. But we are going to do what we can, and we're going to stay within the zoning requirements that are, the area is zoned industrial, so we're going to stay within the zoning requirements and fulfill our obligations. But right now, at this moment, we don't know which machines specifically. We're in that process. It's put on hold, but there will be manufacturing machines located where 19th Street is right now.
So it's going to be manufacturing and warehouse?
There'll be storage there too, yes.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering what was going on there. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard on this item? Anyone else wishing to be heard? Last call, anyone wishing to be heard? All right, Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to close the hearing.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing the hearing, please state aye.
Aye.
Any objection? All right, and we'll have further discussion on this on item number 24 on the council agenda. Next hearing, item 12, hearing number 6/23/24. Pursuant to letters sent and notices published by the city clerk, the hearing scheduled for this evening is for the purpose of changing the land use classification of property located at 3021 Main Avenue, parcel number 592816-15440 from class suburban residential to mixed residential. Anyone wishing to be heard on this item? Anyone wishing to be heard? Last call on this item. Anyone wishing to be heard? Seeing none, Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to close the hearing.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing the hearing, state aye.
Aye.
Any objections? All right, that hearing is closed. Next, we'll jump into items under the consent agenda, items 14 through 22. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive and file all ROs, receive all RCs, and adopt all resolutions and ordinances.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on the consent agenda. Alder Flicky-Peneski.
Thank you very much. Item number 19, something called flock safety that costs $93,000 with a repeating $45,000 annually. I'd like to know what it is and if it's in the budget or if it's capital improvements or combination of both.
Chief?
The intent is to use grant funds that are available to pay for it. It's 93 total, 48 1 year and 43 the second year. It's a license plate reading camera system. So we would be entering in a contract with Flock Safety, who would install both the hardware and provide the software for a system with license plate reading cameras. It would be used essentially for crime prevention and be used in two ways. One would be what I would call active, and by that I mean it would be connected to the state's hot list. The hot list is a list of stolen vehicles, vehicles used in major crimes. And so it would take pictures of license plates of cars passing the points where it is. It would compare that to the hot list, and if a car passed that was on the hot list, it would notify the officers in the squads that that car had just passed that location, and the squads could respond and look for that vehicle in that area. The second way would be used for crimes that had occurred. The easiest way to describe it to you would be if somebody involved in organized retail crime had hit one of our retailers and committed a large retail theft there, and their cameras were able to pick up a photo of a car, but not the license plate, so we could identify who it is. We could enter in descriptors of that vehicle into the software based on that photo, and the system would search and hopefully be able to provide us with a license plate to allow us to identify that vehicle and eventually arrest somebody off of that.
So we get grant funds for the first year, the second year, and the third year?
For the first 2 years.
And then it would be in your budget for the subsequent years?
Potentially. So the long-term plan is really to get businesses to fund it. So I already have some businesses that are interested in funding it, and some businesses in the city that have gone and purchased cameras and installed them on their own, on their property. The other thing I think that's important to consider is that the first 2 years would really give us the experience and the data to be able to evaluate and determine whether the return on investment is worth it.
Thank you.
Other questions on the consent agenda? Alder Flicky-Peneski?
Thank you. This is item number 21, and it it's the second amendment to a contract for what's quite a wonderful amenity in Kiwanis Park. But I want to know what it changed from and to. We're saying now it's 3 days a week, 6 hours a day. So what is it open more? Is it open less? What's changed?
Director Biebel?
Yeah, if Joe Curlin, our Park and Forestry Superintendent, has been actively involved in the contract with the power pubs, and I'd like him to give more detail on that.
Thank you.
So yeah, just a few things changed. Went from 5 days that he should be open to just 3. He's finding that most weekdays are pretty slow. So he's basically open some Thursdays for rentals, things like that, but it's mainly Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's some things that came up, and we would be talking about more of a long-term agreement at this time. And he asked that if we could just do a 1 year. It's the normal time to update it. But he was asking just for a 1 year because there's some things going on with his background that may or may not change. So really, other than cleaning up the agreement, names and things like that, that was really the main. There was one date too where we, instead of the end of August, renewing the agreement, asked if we could wait until at least October so we get a better chance of.
Those items are approved. Item 23, RO number 822324 by the City Plan Commission, to whom was referred number 742324 by City Clerk, and General Ordinance number 302324 by Alderpersons Feldy, amending the City of Sheboygan official zoning map of the Sheboygan zoning ordinance to change the use district classification for property located at 3021 Main Avenue, parcel number 59281615440, from Class Suburban Residential to Mixed Residential classification. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive and file the RO and adopt the ordinance.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this item? Seeing none, it's a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Next, item 24, RO number 852324 by the City Plan Commission, to whom was referred resolution number 1142324 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Decker, submitting the final resolution in order discontinuing portions of South 19th Street between Union Avenue and Oakland Avenue between South 19th Street and Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive and file the RO and adopt the resolution.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Decker.
I guess I have a couple questions for the gentleman from HTT, if it's possible to ask.
Without objection? All right.
Okay, I guess one of the questions I guess I have was, did you guys have conversations with the neighbors in that area? And did you talk to them about like the neighboring businesses and stuff? Has there been some conversations and stuff with them?
I'm going to ask Bob to step up. We did not speak individually to the houses that are to the north and to the east of where this building would be. Bob, you had conversations with the people at the Northwestern House?
Yeah, we had brief conversations with people at Northwestern House regarding some of the street closings, some of the things that were going on, and they had voiced their concerns about the parking.
Okay.
Other than that, we didn't have any contact with anybody else in the area.
So you did not contact like Gaspers or the other gentleman there with the?
No.
Okay.
No.
Archery Place, I mean, those are the places that would be affected. I would.
Sure. Well,
I
we own
guess-
both sides of both pieces that we're looking to vacate.
Okay.
And the area that we,
Can you speak in the mic?
oh, sorry, we own both sides of the streets that are being currently vacated.
Yes.
Or we're requesting to be
Yeah.
vacated. And then the pieces that are down the block, we felt weren't going to be immediately impacted by this building.
Okay, I guess that would be my disappointment that you did not contact and talk to those people, because they still will be affected. I really wish that.
Understand that.
That conversation, I'll be honest with you, I wish that conversation had taken place. I guess, and I mean, when you talk to Northwestern, have you addressed possibly working out a concern with them as far as maybe helping them with additional parking, since you are taking some of the parking away from them?
Well, yeah, I believe the option's open to have those conversations.
I guess I'd like to see something like that happen.
Thank you, Alder Decker. Alder Flicky-Peneski.
Thank you. I'd be interested in the economic impact, or at least the personnel impact. How many people do you employ now? If this addition moves, how many will you employ after the addition comes on?
There's a couple of things we can talk about now. We can talk about the future. Now we've got about 150 employees total, and we're going to be bringing jobs from 2 different locations potentially into our facility. We've got one in the town of Sheboygan and one in the city of Sheboygan Falls. The town of Sheboygan is on a shorter-term lease, so we would be logical to bring those jobs back in, and the number of people that are up there is about 6 people. So there'd be 6 jobs moving from the town of Sheboygan to the city of Sheboygan. And then the Falls plant is a bigger discussion that we have to have internally as to whether or not the timing would make sense at this point. If we can get all of our machinery and equipment and warehouse storage under one location, it saves considerably. We are not I would say it this way, we're a nickels and dimes business, not a $10 and $20 business. And so efficiencies matter more than anything else. And when we're trucking products between 2 different plants and a 3rd location of the warehouse, that is not helping us be competitive and maintain the future. What we can do with the westward expansion in the future is, as you look at, these are like blue sky guesses, but I think by getting us the western route to expand, this phase would be one phase. There could be alternate or additional phases beyond that as our business grows. That would allow us to stay in place in Sheboygan. But if we do not get the ability to move westward, then we're going to have to look, if growth happens in the way we believe it's going to, we're going to have to look outside the city of Sheboygan. Because right now, we have no other place to grow besides west.
How many employees in Sheboygan Falls should that happen? And I know you need to make other.
Okay, there's about 25 employees right now.
Right. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to restate my support for the project. I won't rehash everything that was already said. The various benefits, as well as what I mentioned at Plan Commission, other than I have not personally heard any concerns from constituents about it. I feel like any chance that we have to support a Sheboygan business, especially a local family-owned business, is a good opportunity for us. I would also like to point out that there's no incentive being asked for as part of the project at this time, and I also find that to be quite refreshing. Neil and Bob from HTT, from my perspective, have been proactive and eager partners in all of this. They've had me in the facility 2 times, a couple times to over the project to see the facility, walk around the building, and really get into the details, answer any questions that were had, which I also highly appreciated how engaged HTT has been so far. With the stretch on Oakland Avenue, my understanding is they own both sides of the property. It already does not go through, so vacating that street is just going to not have that street going between the 2 sections of property they own. For South 19th, I understand now the parking concern, and I do hope that conversations would remain ongoing with neighbors about the best way to handle whatever future steps in the process with this project occur. But it does seem like Sauk Trail is a much more natural way around that. Again, 19th is only going to Ashland, which has that very short intersection with Business Drive. Every time, it's very anecdotal, I am one person in the district out of many, but anytime I've gone there, I've always gone around. And again, with owning both sides of the property on both sides of the street, I understand that there will be an impact, but not perhaps as major as it could be, and nothing to dissuade me from what I think would be a very large step to support a local family-owned business. So I will be supporting this evening, and I would ask my peers to do so as well.
Great, thanks, Alder Mitchell. Alder Salzar.
I'll start with the gentlemen that are at the podiums. So the map that you posted or that we saw in your presentation, it looked like there was a house. Maybe that was an old map. It looked like there was a house on that top corner across the street from your building to the side of the Northwestern, like a little yellow brown house.
Across the street from 19th, you can see where 19th is.
Correct?
And if you look immediately to the east,
On that corner?
before the tree on the top of the map,
Mm-hmm.
roughly in there, that is a warehouse-style building. It is not a house.
I'm talking about in the corner.
Yeah, that's an
Oh, that
old
house doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't, okay, great.
Sorry.
Okay, I was like, that looks like a house. My eyes aren't
It doesn't
deceiving me.
exist anymore. Both sides of that, as Alderman Mitchell explained, both sides of 19th are owned by the Soxies. And so that house was purchased and it was demolished.
Okay, great. And then my question I want to volley over to either Public Works or, have we done any internal sort of viewing of the impact it would have on the traffic in that space? Have we, as the city, looked into that? I know we're looking at this as a business decision, but have we looked at it on how it pertains to the safety of the car traffic and constituents in that area?
City engineer?
No, we didn't do any kind of formal traffic impact studies because this little section of road is used so minimal by the neighborhood traffic. Anyone traveling north and southbound up in this area, they're either going to use South Trail Road or they're going to use South Business Drive. So no, we did no formal traffic study, but like I said, I think this road is used quite a bit during the day for parking for the HTT employees.
Yeah,
So
okay, thank you.
Alder Rust.
Thank you. I think this is important to go through with because we already lost an opportunity with another manufacturing company that built in Port Washington, and they're a Sheboygan-based company, and I don't want to see us make that same mistake again for the city. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, with no more cues, this will be a roll call vote.
Six ayes, 2 nays, 1 abstain.
All right, that item is approved. Items 25, 26, and 27 will be referred to their respective committees. Next, we have item 28, resolution number 120-2324 by Alderpersons Decker and Salzar ratifying retaining outside legal counsel in the matter of 2 citations issued to Robert McGills and Andrea Lee Rickman, currently pending in municipal court. Alder Decker.
Ask to suspend the rules.
Any objection? Seeing none, please proceed.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll, Alder Heidemann.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess that my concern is, and we've got a series of suspends rules. What is the reason for suspending the rules? Can you give me a legitimate reason why we have to do it 5 times in a row, I believe?
City Attorney? So I can only address them one at a time, and if you read the document, you'll see it there. But for this particular one, it's because the matter is pending in court, and so we need to get an outside attorney on this. This is a matter that our office cannot handle because we are conflicted out.
Okay, so how long, did you have previous knowledge of this, that you had an opportunity to have it brought to a committee, or it's just something that this is the way we're going to do it?
This is the way to do it, to get it going right away. Once you have a citation and we learn that the person has pled not guilty, we need to get on it quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Perhaps just out of curiosity, what is the conflict that presents us from pursuing these citations internally?
A member of our office is the victim.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Additional comments on this item? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
All right, that item is approved. Next, item number 29, resolution number 1182324, by Alderpersons Decker and Salazar authorizing appropriate officials from the Sheboygan Fire Department to sign a day meeting contract with Blue Harbor Resort and Conference Center for the use of meeting and banquet space at Blue Harbor for an IFF peer support conference hosted by the Sheboygan Fire Department on March 8th and 9th, 24. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask to suspend the rules.
Is there an objection? All right, there's been an objection. All those in favor of suspending the rules, state aye.
Aye.
Any objection? All right, in opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. Alder Decker, please proceed.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Flicky-Pineski.
Thank you. I can understand the need to get an attorney into court before the court uses up its days. I can understand needing to get to a bank so that the property doesn't foreclose. I have a hard time doing it to make sure you get a room at a hotel for suspending the rules.
All right. Any questions on that one, City Attorney?
What I can speak to that is this, is that Blue Harbor required this to be signed actually by the 15th. They agreed, because of the council schedule, they agreed to wait until today. But the fire department would lose the contract if we did not pass it today.
Thank you.
Fire Chief?
No, I was going to say the same thing as Attorney Adams. We received a grant for this peer support class for the county, and unfortunately, due to our fire department, we're not able to host due to the ADA requirements, and we would lose the grant. So mental health awareness is very important in our field, and this was the opportunity to do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to.
Thanks. Any other discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Next, item 30, resolution number 1292324, by Alderpersons Decker and Salazar authorizing the city attorney's office to settle civil actions pending before Sheboygan County Circuit Court, caption Midstate Amusement Games LLC versus City of Sheboygan, in which were consolidated case number 2021 CV 000325. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask to suspend the rules.
Any objection? Seeing none, please proceed.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. All right, item 31, resolution number 1302324 by Alderpersons Decker, Salazar, authorizing the purchase of parcel number 592814791010 located in the Sheboygan Business Center from Wisconsin WP LLC. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask to suspend the rules.
Any objection? Seeing none, please proceed.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Mitchell.
I apologize if I'm forgetting something on this one. Do we have an explanation of why we are buying this property?
City
Can I answer that,
attorney,
or do you
yes.
want me to answer that? Okay.
This is part of a negotiated development agreement we're working on, and we can review more in closed session. But this is something that has been presented to this council before, and you agreed with moving forward with. Unfortunately, the company has we've got verbal confirmation that they're moving forward. We need to finalize the development plan, but as part of the development plan, this was the city's portion that needed to be fulfilled. So we're fulfilling this so that the landowner can honor their contract. There's a swap that's taking place. So I believe we have until the 28th for the swap to be fulfilled. So our plan is to move forward on our purchase so that they can fulfill their portion of the purchase.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional comments on this item? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Next, resolution number 123-23-24 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky-Pineski, authorizing retaining outside legal counsel to do legal work for the city of Sheboygan related to tax incremental financing. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to suspend the rules.
Any objection? Seeing none, please proceed with your motion.
I move to adopt the resolution.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Mitchell.
I suppose a similar question to the last one around it was a bit vague in the resolution. I have a feeling that there may be more conversation happening. Are we able to get any more idea of the nature of the work that we'd be hiring counsel for?
Yes, we have a number of development agreements that need to be written over the next probably 2 months. I think we're looking at somewhere around 10 to 15 total that we'd be looking at. And obviously, we don't have the staff to get that done. And then we're also looking at potentially setting up some TID districts, so we'll need legal opinions on those as well. So with the current workload in the attorney's office, I talked with Attorney Adams about potentially looking at appointing someone that specializes in TIFs to get us through that kind of big bulk. Obviously, all of the work that would be done is reimbursable through the TIF, so it's not an actual cost to the city out of our operating budget either.
Thank you.
Additional comments? All right, seeing none, it's a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Items 33 through 39 will be referred to their respective committees. All right. Item 40, RC number 1542324 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred resolution number 1102324 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky-Pineski, authorizing entering into a pre-development agreement with Cornerstone LLC regarding redevelopment of the Poth and Gartman Farms property on the south side of the city. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the substitute resolution with the revised agreement.
Moved in second. Is there a second? Moved in second. Discussion on this item? All right. Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
All right, that's approved. Next, item 41, RC number 1552324 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred resolution number 1132324 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky-Pineski, obligating American Rescue Plan Act funds to pay for various eligible capital projects and authorizing the Finance Director to complete a 2024 budget amendment with assorted anticipated costs. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the substitute resolution.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this item. Alder Salazar.
Thank you. So I'd like to ask our development director if you can sort of give us a clarification of how this impacts the Uptown Parklet, the St. Clair Parklet. And then I'd also, my follow-up question to that is asking why the name is being changed, why we're asking to change the project name from the St. Clair Parklet to the Downtown Parks.
Thank you. So this does not impact the funding that the city received a grant for $50,000 from Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation for the parklet. So this does not impact that funding at all. So this is ARPA only. And then I think that to your second question, it's really to broaden. The city is focusing on multiple downtown parks to look at opportunities for placemaking and to reinvigorate some of our parks. And so it just broadens it so that we're more inclusive.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes.
Could that downtown parks sort of umbrella still include the St. Clair Parklet once you actually hear sort of the project ideas that could happen there, or as they work through some of that?
The request that we made for the reallocation of ARPA had no work being done in the St. Clair Parklet. The plan here was to address some placemaking in the park specifically. We had no intention that it got included into the resolution, but the request that we requested of finance was to change it to downtown parks. We're specifically looking at Fountain Park and City Green, of putting some year-round amenities there.
But they could be included in that, is what I'm asking.
They could be included, but I don't think there's going to be enough funding to address anything, so I don't want to give the false hope that we're going to proceed with a project there and we don't have enough funding to address that.
City Attorney. I'm just going to make a recommendation, since this is also including City Green, and City Green is not actually a park, and we've purposely not defined it as a park. Perhaps what it should be is downtown parks and City Green, or Fountain Park and City Green, or downtown parks and public spaces, something of the sort. Can that be accepted as a friendly amendment, City Attorney? Yeah, if someone makes that as a friendly amendment, I think.
Yeah, I'd make an amendment to include public space, because then that could include the parklet in the future.
Okay, so there's been a motion to include the definition regarding public space.
So make a motion to change it from downtown parks to public space.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the amendment. Now we're discussing the amendment. Any discussions on this amendment? Alder, okay. Alder Preller, are you speaking on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of speaking on the amendment, state aye.
Aye.
Any objections? All right, the amendment is approved. Now we're back at the main motion as amended. Alder Salzer, you still have the floor.
I don't have any further questions.
Okay, Alder Perla.
So I'm still a little bit confused, so please, if you don't mind, just to clarify. So is there still a parklet project? And is there a budget for that project, which is completely separate from what we have discussed here, from the 344 plus?
Yes, there is a state grant that the city has for $50,000 that is for the parklet, and that is still in place and will not be affected by this at all. So that project has its own funding and its own funding source, and we're just looking at reallocation of ARPA funds.
And as a follow-up, the funds that we allocated for the parklet project, based on the plan that has been discussed and designed, are those funds sufficient, or would that parklet, again, based on the plans for that parklet projects, are the funds sufficient?
The $50,000?
Correct.
No, I just got the plans Sunday, was the first time I've seen them. $50,000 is not sufficient to address what's needed there. The $344,000 is not sufficient to address what's needed there, or what's being requested. So we have to go through that. I've had absolutely no discussions on the plans that they're proposing. So we're a long way from being able to say what that request might look like.
And it was mentioned during the committee meeting that there were objections to close the road permanently, which would then hinder the implementation of the projects or the plans. Is that still the case, or that is
So-
just
so Alder-
something that needs to be talked about?
Alder Pearl, I guess that question's out of order. The question at hand is regarding the American Rescue Act plans, and then the amendment that was added as well to change it to public
I
spaces.
respectively challenge that, because the
All
decision,
right, there's
what
been a
the
challenge.
committee.
Okay, Alder Prella, please proceed then.
With?
No, without. Without we're not talking about closing the road right now.
No,
The
in
agenda's
fact,
on
I
the
can, no,
agenda.
I can prevent that. The only thing is that I can do without that. However, what has been done during the committee, the finance committee, which then was recommended, included the idea of the road. So, I mean, that decision was made based on the response we received during that meeting, that also the street would be closed. So we can talk about that at another time, but it was included in the subject because I asked that question during the meeting.
Yep, that is correct. We did have a conversation about that. So DPW had weighed in that they have some concerns about potentially closing the road. We have not had any conversations with I have not had any conversations with those who have proposed a project, and we have not had any formal conversations with DPW about moving that forward. So we have none of that project included in these costs because we haven't had that conversation yet. So to say that there is a project or isn't a project, we don't know yet because obviously nothing's been presented to council to consider. So that, we're a long way off. We've got to kind of cost out what's being proposed, bring that proposal to you guys and let you guys make a decision if you want to move forward on a project. And then ultimately, if you're going to make that kind of an investment, you want to be looking at closing the street so it can be there year round. So a number of conversations have to take place to get to that point.
Very good. Thank you so much.
And I'll just add too, if council members do want additional comments, we can't, regarding the parklet in general and the plans, I would respectfully request the Public Works Committee Chair to add an item on the future agenda. So, just a commentary note. Alder Salazar.
Okay, so then I guess my question would be towards the city administrator. You just said that we would need to see a plan for the word I'm not allowed to say, but but we're looking at moving funding from the ARPA fund to these downtown parks. Will we be able to see a plan?
Downtown public spaces.
To public spaces, it doesn't say downtown, public spaces. Will we see a plan for what that funding is gonna go to? Because the other items on there, it makes a lot of sense to me, and I can sort of validate what those are going to, but that public space section, what's the plan? What are we seeing? Is there gonna be more information? Because then it's difficult to approve it tonight without actually knowing what you're gonna do with it.
Yes, none of this funding was spent until a plan is approved by council. All we're doing now is asking you to reallocate it, and we're currently working on proposing a plan. And then ultimately, if you guys approve that, then we have the funding secured for that.
Would that include the additional items that are also in there, like for the gymnasium and the other pieces? Or just reallocating the funding, but not approving it?
Well, you'll have to approve the contract for award for building the gymnasium and things like that. So there's other steps before actual expenditure for these projects.
Okay, so we'll be seeing them individually coming down the pipeline once the...
Correct. I don't think there was any direct spending in any of that allocation. Each one of them would come before you guys in different pieces, whether it be parks projects, you're still going to have to approve the contracts and go through that process for each of them.
Okay. Is that correct?
I think the radios might be the only one that wouldn't come back. Yeah, radio is the only specific, purchasing radios for police department, I think, was the only specific equipment item.
So then it won't come back to council then?
It's a part of budget, yes. That piece would not.
Okay, it's a part of the budget, but the other pieces will still come back through council.
Correct, because we would have to we'll have to bid them, and then they'll have to come back as contracts.
Okay.
All right, Alder Ramey.
Thank you, Mayor. My comment slash question, I suppose, is I don't want to ignore the fact that this is, I feel like, the second or third time I've heard that we're making major plans without including a task force. So I'm referring to Mr. Van Akron's comments about we have our sustainability task force and they're not being included in anything. Is that going to be remedied? Are we moving forward going to be including this task force? And if not, why do we have this task force? Anyone who wants to answer would be great.
So I guess the question specifically relating to the Sustainability Task Force is not in order because we're talking about reallocating ARPA dollars. But I guess generally we do incorporate, when we talk about planning and getting feedback, in the task of the Sustainability Task Force is to advise the council in terms of items that they want us to move forward, and they have provided no recommendation.
I don't feel like it was, if it was out of order for me to speak to that, why was it not out of order for Mr. Van Akron to speak to 40 and 41, to which 41 is what I'm talking about? I'm just saying I'm noticing a trend and I don't want to see it continue going that way. So if I need to ask that question every time, I suppose I will, because that's important.
That's a fair question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Flicky-Paneski.
Thank you, and it kind of bunks on that. Don't we have a Marina and Parks Commission or committee?
So again, that question is out of order. The item on the agenda is relating to reallocating funding.
Got it.
For ARPA dollars.
Thank you. Okay.
Alder Heidemann.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think what Mr. Van Akron was talking about was curling and putting things in the park that we wouldn't really need. I don't think it had anything to do whether or not we bring that committee into the council or we have representation. I think that would be up to the mayor to do something like that, but.
Thank you, Alder Heidemann. Any discussion on this item as amended? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Alder Ackley is not here to vote, so there are 8 ayes.
All right, that is approved. Next, item 42, RC number 1592324 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral resolution number 1172324 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky-Paneski, authorizing the appropriate city officials to sign the January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2026 contract between the City of Sheboygan and Sheboygan Professional Police Officers Association. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution with the amended agreement.
Is there moved and seconded? Any discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Eight ayes.
That is approved. Item 43, RC number 1602324 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral resolution number 1162324 by Alder Mitchell and Flicky-Paneski, authorizing entering into section 125 flexible benefit plan agreement for services and business associate agreement with Diversified Benefits Services, Inc. regarding section 125 Flex Benefit Plan Services for 24. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, it's a roll call vote.
Eight ayes.
That's approved. Next, 44, General Ordinance Number 332324 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky-Pineski, modifying the city's table of organizations. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to suspend the rules.
Any objection? Seeing none, please proceed.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Alder Salazar?
Can someone give me a little clarification of exactly what's happening here? We're moving positions into higher levels, or need some clarity?
Finance Director?
Thank you. I helped us put this together, so I will defer to HR Director if you have additional questions. This is actually adding positions to our table of organization, one being the cafe coordinator at Uptown Social Building, which was a previously Friends of Uptown Social funded position, and they actually had it within their budget and employed them. So this would be changing that position to a city employee. And additionally, with the end of the F3 marina management contract, we are requesting that we have positions at the marina added to the table of organization as well. So those were previously F3 marina positions that we are now requesting to have city employees brought on as city individuals. I have put this forward as a suspension of the rules request because with the ending of the contract at the end of the year, we're hoping to get these positions posted with the council approval as soon as possible so that we can have these positions filled right after the beginning of the year.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes.
Will the money that we used to pay for the F3 contract cover these positions as a whole, or will it be additional cost to us? And that would apply for the other cafe coordinator position. Is that money that's covered in the Friends, and would that be additional cost for the city as well?
City Administrator.
So, sorry. So the marina positions will all be funded with the existing revenues, would actually be the dock revenues. So the slip rental fees will cover the cost of operations. So as the contract stood before, we actually paid all of the expenses out of F3, that F3 generated. We paid all of them, plus we paid the $100,000 a year. So
We'll be saving the one.
we should be saving about $109,000, I believe the last estimate was.
Ish.
With the new wage assignments, that number's going to fluctuate some, but we anticipate there will be a surplus there as a result.
Okay.
For the Uptown Social positions, those, I believe the net's about 60,000 roughly.
40 for this year, but it was about break even for 2023.
So
Break even with what?
new revenues versus new expenses.
Okay, so the position is the cafe is covering, the money that you're making in the cafe is covering the,
And the new revenue that revenue shift that we're doing with the Friends, that revenue will cover the new expenditures that we're incurring.
okay, so this shouldn't have a large impact on our bottom budget line.
Correct. It should have a positive in both.
Great. Thank you.
Alder Mitchell.
I'll defer to Finance Director
Finance
for
Director.
commentary.
Thank you. I did want to just point out that there are two budget amendments that are going to be coming forward that moves the funds from the lines that they currently are in to the salaries, taxes, all those lines that would be appropriate to expense to. However, that does require two readings no matter what with a budget amendment, so that could not be suspended and adopted today. So you'll see that come back on January 2nd.
Thank you. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Would somebody be able to give just a bit of an overview of what we expect I don't want to call it the department, the area for the marina to look like as far as operations with these positions? So I have a marina manager, a marina maintenance manager, those are our two full-time positions. An assistant marina manager that is seasonal, and then the only non-manager of some form is the dock hands, which are also seasonal.
Director Biebel, you want to take that one?
Sure. Those positions will report to the Department of Public Works. We'll be managing the operations. We did have oversight of F3's contract as well. So bringing these positions on, there'll be more of a direct report to our offices. So we currently manage, for instance, all the boat lease is on the river. And we're going to extend kind of that type of philosophy along to the marina during this period of, I guess, uncertainty while we embark on this new reimagination and looking at the future of what the marina will look like. So bringing these people on, we're looking for someone just to be on site. We're going to need someone on site to help manage the daily operations down there. The maintenance is, although it's a manager position is what it's called because they manage the seasonal staff. The marina manager manages everybody that would be on site. In other words, if there's an issue to be communicated from a boater or from a resident or something in the area, the marina manager would then dispatch the necessary person or then contact our office to respond accordingly.
Any follow-up, Alder Mitchell?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments on this item? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Alder Perla? Thank you. 8 ayes.
That item is approved. Next, matters that have been laid over, item 45, resolution number 108-2324 by Alderperson Rust, officially recognizing the Farnsworth Neighborhood Association. Alder Rust.
I move to approve the resolution.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Rust.
I'd just like to say that I've gone to a lot of Farnsworth Neighborhood Association meetings, and they've worked really hard on this, and I'm really proud and happy to say that's District 8's first neighborhood association, and hopefully many more to come. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alder Rust, and just kudos to you helping get this neighborhood association going, as well as to our friends at Neighborhood Pride. So, any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Eight ayes.
Okay, that's approved. Next, we have a contemplated closed session. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to convene in closed session under the exemption provided in section 19.851E, Wisconsin Stats, where competitive and bargaining sessions require a closed session related to the following. 1, potential development of opportunities, land purchases, and incentives involving potential growth of the NEMAC facility in the city's South Side Business Park. 2, potential land purchase and incentives involving redevelopment in the downtown and South Pier areas. 3, potential use of tax incremental financing involving the creation of new TID districts within the city. Okay,
No,
is
we're
there a
not done.
second motion? Do I have just,
Just
okay,
keep-
one motion. Okay, and a motion to convene in closed session under the exemption provided in section 19.85 sub E sub G for conferring with legal counsel who is rendering oral advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the common council with respect to proposed settlement agreement in the matter of Frank Bernard versus Anthony T.J. Hamilton, et cetera, AL. U.S. District Court, Eastern District of Wisconsin, case number 223 CV 00999 SCD.
It's been moved and seconded. This is a roll call vote.
Thank you. Aye. Okay. Computers are shut down. 8 ayes.
All right, we're going to take a 5 to 10-ish minute break and reconvene in closed session.
God, that's scary.
Sorry.
Can you go out?
All right, we'll reconvene in open session. I'll call on Alder Decker, item 48, resolution number 124-2324 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Flicky Pineski, authorizing the city attorney's office to settle the matter in Frank Bernard versus Anthony Hamilton, U.S. District Court, Eastern District of Wisconsin. Alder Decker?
I ask to suspend the rules.
Any objection? Seeing none, please proceed with your motion.
I move to adopt the resolution.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion on this item? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Alderperson Decker.
Aye.
Alderperson Flicky Pineski. Alderperson Heidemann.
Aye.
Alderperson Mitchell.
Aye.
Alderperson Perella.
Aye.
Alderperson Ramey.
Aye.
Alderperson Rust.
Aye.
Alderperson Salazar.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Thank you. Alder Decker, it's been a long meeting. We've exhausted our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any objection? We're adjourned at 9:03. Have a wonderful holiday and Merry Christmas.
That was awesome.